Hi there,
Hi.
we're Sean and Allison from Spoken Garden, and we're partnering with Eden Brothers to help you in your garden.
Yeah, we're going to show you how to sow your marigold seeds indoors and outdoors step by step today.
Yeah, but before we get to that, it's helpful to know that marigolds, they have a very distinct scent, which makes them great companion plants for tomatoes and other crops in order to help keep pests away.
Yeah, and you know, before you sow your seeds, you're going to need to make sure that you have the right location to plant them in so they'll thrive. They like full sun locations. They are poor soil tolerant, but they will also grow well in well-draining fertile soil. Now, before we show you how to sow your marigold seeds, we want to let you know that marigolds are considered an annual plant and they're hardy in zones 1 through 10. There's 3 different kinds or types of marigolds, and they are French marigolds, African marigolds, or signet marigolds. So it's good to know that marigolds come in a lot of different colors and color combinations of red, orange, yellow, gold, copper, and white. Now the marigold seeds we're going to show you how to sow today are called Queen Sophia, and they're a beautiful French marigold that has orangish red double flowers with golden edges. In general, marigolds can grow anywhere from 10 to 36 inches tall, and these Queen Sophia marigolds will grow up to 12 inches tall and wide, and they have a spreading form, and they're a beautiful heirloom variety. Now this marigold is great in cut flower gardens or container gardens and is a wonderful pollinator attractor. It's resistant to heat, drought. It's also resistant to deer and rabbits, but it is susceptible to powdery mildew, so keep an eye out for that.
All right, you're ready to start planting your marigold seeds, but you have 2 options. You can either sow them indoors or outdoors, depending on what time of year you want to get them started. So if you want to sow them indoors in some type of seed cell trays or any other trays that you're using, you want to time it so it's 6 to 8 weeks before your last spring frost date. That'll give you time to transplant them outside by hardening them off first and everything you need to do then. If you want to direct sow them directly out into the garden, make sure you time it so it's at least 1 to 2 weeks after your last spring frost and after any chance of frost has already passed. All right, let's get these marigold seeds planted indoors. And the first step is to get your soil ready for planting. You can see here we have soil that's already been pre-moistened inside these seed cell trays. The next step is to get ready for sowing. And these marigold seeds need to be planted at a depth of about 1/16 of an inch. And drop 1 to 2 seeds per planting hole. 1/16 of an inch is very shallow. It's basically right on the surface. You can just press them into the soil. The next step is to actually carefully just lightly press them into the soil, but don't cover them. Finally, gently moisten the top of the soil to start the germination process. And that's how you sow marigold seeds indoors.
After your seeds have germinated, you'll need to make sure that they are 4 to 6 inches tall before you transplant them out into your garden. But before you transplant them out into your garden, they also need to be hardened off, which is a process of bringing them out gradually over a 2-week period for longer and longer periods of time. And then at the end of the 2-week period, having them out overnight so they get acclimatized and used to your garden environment. Then you can transplant them out in your garden. But there's one more caveat before you transplant them. Make sure that you're 1 to 2 weeks past the threat of frost. When you're ready to sow your seeds outdoors, you can plant in any garden soil, potting soil, topsoil, or even poor rocky clay soils. When you sow your seeds, you're going to need to make sure to space them 12 inches apart, whether in one row or in multiple rows or in containers. Now the seed planting depth is only 1/16 of an inch deep, so the seeds just need to be placed on the soil surface. If you're going to sow your seeds under windy conditions, you can sow them at 1/4 inch depth, and that'll make sure that the seeds don't blow away in the wind. And the very last thing to do after you've sown your seeds is water them in, because you want to start that germination process. So water the area thoroughly and make sure there's enough water in that soil so those seeds can grab onto that moisture and start to germinate. Now, to transplant your marigolds out into the garden, you'll need to make sure that you're planting them into some type of garden soil, topsoil. Even like a clay, non-fertile soil is okay, but the more fertile and well-draining, the better. And so what we have here is we've got our garden bed. Each one of these seedlings will need to be placed about 12 inches apart. That's either in one row this way or in 2 rows. So you'll need to make sure that you plant your seedling into the new garden soil at the same level that it's planted in the cell tray in that soil. Otherwise, that can lead to other problems that you don't want to have in your garden. thoroughly water in your seedlings so you get that wet soil and root contact so they really can start growing. Now, in the weeks and months ahead, you'll need to make sure to consistently water your marigolds so they stay nice and healthy and they flower. Now, during the drier times of year, even though these marigolds are drought tolerant, you'll need to consistently water even during those times if you want to have nice, healthy, consistent growth and more flowering. You'll also need to consistently keep up with weeding so your plants aren't competing for nutrients or water. Make sure to also put down some mulch so that keeps moisture in the soil more consistently for those roots to take up. Mulch also works as a great weed suppressant. Watch for pests and diseases and definitely deadhead your marigolds to significantly increase the length of their flowering throughout the summer. Now, if you need more flower planting, growing, or harvesting tips, you can always go to EdenBrothers.com and check out their planting guides.
And we hope this video was really helpful for you in sowing your own marigold seeds. And from us at Spoken Garden and Eden Brothers, thank you for watching.